All right, everyone, welcome back. Today, I stumbled across some information that really pissed me off. Um, I don't know how new this information is, but I just discovered it today. Um, because I don't spend a whole lot of time on social media. I don't really have much of any social media whatsoever, really, to speak of. I try to stay away from it. It's just not healthy and everything. But anyway, so a friend of mine sent me a post about the newest, or I guess the latest update of the Narnia films that are being worked on at the moment. So apparently now Greta Gerwig is now in line to direct the newest take on the Narnia films, or the Narnia books rather. And her first film that she's going to adapt is now The Magician's Nephew, one of my absolute favorite books in the whole Narnia series. From the news that I heard is that she is in talks with, this is not confirmed or anything from anyone. This is just rumors of this and that or whatever. So, but what I've heard is that she is attempting to recast, or quote unquote gender swap, Aslan from a male to a female, and that they're actually going to have Meryl Streep voice Aslan. Now, some of you may be sitting there, depending on your political leanings one way or the other, and think, "Well, what's the big deal? Who cares?" Well, it is a very big deal. It's a very big deal because if you know anything about the Chronicles of Narnia and or C.S. Lewis himself, you'll know that C.S. Lewis was a devout Christian, and that when C.S. Lewis wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, he wrote it as a fantasy version of a fantasy parallel of Christian beliefs. I mean, for those of you that have read like The Magician's Nephew, it's the creation story. It follows the creation of Narnia, very similar to the creation of our world, our universe, everything. When God created everything, it's spoken into existence. The exact same thing happens in here. You know, Aslan walks around and creates Narnia. I'm sorry for the spoilers for those who haven't read it, but go out and read it. I encourage you to. It's a great story. Um, and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I mean, it's literally Aslan gives his life for Edmund. It's the same exact story with, Christ giving his life for us and for, to pay for our sins against God. I mean, it's just rich with Christian allegory and similarities and everything, that if you're going to take something as beloved as the Chronicles of Narnia and any other of C.S. Lewis's work, just like just like what happened with Rings of Power with Tolkien's work. They take it, they rip it apart, and try to conform it into their own modern political agenda to fit whatever they feel is proper nowadays. With the misgendering ideology and all that garbage, and all this diversity nonsense. It's like, no, you need to, if you're going to adapt somebody else's work, you need to stick to what the original creators, and or in this case authors, intention was. If you're going to take somebody else's work and recreate it into a different medium, you need to respect what they wanted, what they wrote, and what they intended. That is on you. If you want to create something with all that nonsensical diversity and gender ideology and all that garbage, go create your own story. But don't try to muck up somebody else's story just because it has an already established fan base. That is wrong. It's absolutely disgusting what people are trying to do. Some British pop singer is going to be Jadis. Like, what are you people thinking? Like, what's the matter with you? Like seriously, if you want to make that type of story, go create your own thing and call it something else, but don't try to come in here and screw with someone else's work that's already established and loved just because it already has an established fan base. You're just taking something and ruining it for everybody that already loves it. And I guarantee you that fan base is not going to support that content that you create. That's what we've got that's latest, at least that I've seen. And for someone like myself who is a passionate fan of the Chronicles of Narnia, especially The Magician's Nephew. Like I said, it's one of my favorite books. They need people that are given the reins to such a beloved piece of content like this. I don't even like using the word content. A beloved piece of a passion, a work of passion. I will call that the Chronicles of Narnia and stuff like Lord of the Rings and other similar works like that, fantasy works and things of that nature. I consider those passion, works of passion because it truly was. This book was written, this whole series was written just after, or soon after, C.S. Lewis's reconversion back to Christianity after he was raised in the Church of Ireland, which is a Christian church. But then, as he went off to prep school, he fell away from his faith, and then after working with Tolkien at the Oxford University, Tolkien encouraged him to revisit his faith, in which he did, and then decided to write the Chronicles of Narnia, among other works of his, like Mere Christianity, The Screwtape Letters, An Allegory of Love, and several other books. And it really sucks when we want to see. I would love to see The Magician's Nephew become a film, and the rest of the books as well. But when you're given such beloved pieces of work to someone who obviously doesn't care about the author's original intentions, it really ruins the whole experience for the rest of us, for the people that do love it. And it's just like what Peter Jackson said when he was being interviewed about taking on the mantle of the Lord of the Rings.
Well, we didn't want to put any of our own, certainly in terms of the thematic material, we didn't want to put any of our own baggage. I mean, we had no interest in putting our messages into this movie, but we thought that we should honor Tolkien by putting his messages into it. And we thought he cared about things. The countryside and the rise of evil, and he cared passionately about certain issues. And we thought what we should do to honor him is to make sure that what he cared about ends up in the movie. That's what we tried to do.
You can see that in the dichotomy of the Lord of the Rings trilogy versus the Rings of Power. You can see where someone takes somebody's work and says, well, I want to make my own story out of that and make it how I want. Well, you can see what happened. It's just atrocious. And you can see where someone takes someone who obviously had a very specific vision on what they wanted to create and created it in a very specific way. And when you see when someone takes that work and honors what the original author or original creator's intention was and creates it in that fashion, you can see why the Lord of the Rings trilogy films are so beloved to this day and are still revered as some of the best movies ever made. I would like to say this. I would like to challenge Netflix and Greta Gerwig herself. I'm not a seasoned filmmaker. I make, ridiculous YouTube videos, but I've been really wanting to get into film work, whether it be short films or whatever, but I eventually want to work my way up to making feature films. I'm not experienced in this. I know basic camera work, lighting, audio, all that stuff, but I would like to put this out there. I want to have the opportunity to make these films myself. Not by myself, but I want to be put in the director's position where I can hire a team to fulfill what C.S. Lewis wrote. Not what I want, but what he wrote. What he wrote and the intentions behind it, with all the Christian allegories and similarities and undertones and everything. I want to make that how C.S. Lewis wrote it. I want to do the Chronicles of Narnia just the way Peter Jackson did the Lord of the Rings. I want to make Lewis happy with making a film. Now, I don't have any legal right to the Lewis estate or any of the rights to the Chronicles of Narnia or anything like that. I'm just a fella sitting in front of his computer with a camera. But I challenge the people that do own these rights is that I want to make these films. Put me in the director's seat. Allow me to make the films that C.S. Lewis wrote. I'll put up a GoFundMe or something like that, but give me that opportunity, and I guarantee you it'll be a lot better than what Greta Gerwig is working on. With all this gender swapping and all this other nonsense. No, we're gonna make the film that would make C.S. Lewis happy about his book. Now, if you're interested in helping with that project, like I said, I'll put up a GoFundMe. You can donate or whatever. Spread this message however you want. I want to follow up what Andrew Adamson did with the first few Narnia movies. Those first two. I know the third one he didn't actually direct, and that was actually changed over from Disney to 20th Century Fox. Um, but the first two he did direct with Disney and everything. But I want to follow that style. Like he stuck as true to the books as possible. Like I said in my video about respecting the original IP. So I want to respect what C.S. Lewis wrote and make a movie that would make him proud. So I challenge you, Greta Gerwig or whoever's got the rights to, to the C.S. Lewis estate or, the rights to the books or whatever. Give me the money, give me the equipment, give me the ability to make these films, and I guarantee you it'll be a hit.